me, you've had an experience where you're dreaming and you just keep looking down at these premium cards and thinking, man, I wish this was actually happening. Here's what it's like when it is actually happening. Activate the dream sequence. Alright guys, as advertised here, we might as well start off with the Pocket Kings. That's what you came for, so let's go. First hand that we end up playing, we haven't been at the table very long. We get dealt Black Kings, and we have 300 in our stack in middle position. There's a limper at 1-3, and so I make it $17 with a plan to isolate. Our plan to isolate works about as well as a government program. 4 people end up calling, and so instead of seeing the flop heads up, we're going to see it 5 ways. This is not what we had in mind, but if we hit a board of like deuce, 3, 7, rainbow, we might be feeling okay. Instead, what we see is nothing of the sort. We see ace of clubs, jack of clubs, queen of spades. Apparently the dealer and the other players at this table did not get the memo that this is a dream sequence. All right, so we're gonna check. If we were heads up, this is a decent board for us to continue on. We have the nuts advantage. 5 ways, there's too much likelihood that players are gonna continue and we will have no idea where we're at. Aces, flush draws, 2 pairs, who knows? We're not feeling good if we bet and get called. So I end up checking when it checks to me, and it checks through. We go to the turn, and the turn is the jack of hearts. This is, again, not a great card for us. We're probably going to get raised out of this pot. Now the small blind makes a very peculiar play and bets $15 into 85. I have no idea why you would choose this sizing. I think it's fine to downsize and bet small to get value out of something like a queen maybe after it's checked through, but I think 15 is too small. I think you want to be going larger than that even when you're downsizing your bet. So I end up calling for $15. Let's try to realize our implied odds. If we can hit a king or a 10, we might be able to get paid by a set of jacks here. The river comes down to 7, however, and though we don't expect to be good very often, we're not good. We're hoping it'll check through. The small blind bet's $30 now. We know we're no good. The worst he's going to be betting with here is an ace. I think if he has a flush draw that's missed, he's going to bet big and try to get us to fold. So it's a pretty easy decision once he bets to just let this one go. And we do start the night off on a small loss. You might be thinking, man, that wasn't all that extraordinary. And it wasn't. Hang tight, it gets much more interesting. All right, second hand of the night, we have ace of clubs, jack of clubs. We made it $20 pre-flop so that we would not get a bunch of callers over 1 limper. Still got 3 callers, didn't matter, 20 bucks not big enough. 450 in our stack, we're in the cutoff. The flop comes down ace, deuce, deuce. We're feeling great. We're gonna go ahead and bet $35 when it checks to us. And there is 1 caller in the small blind. I'm not worried about 2s. There's 1 combination of pocket 2s for quads, and if he has it, so be it. And then there's no suited ace, deuce. So it's extremely unlikely that he has a deuce. And most likely what he's calling us with is a worse ace. We did not get 3-bet pre-flop, so we can rule out the ace, queen, ace, king, things like that. And so we're just going for value at this point. So we get to a turn, and the turn is the 9 of clubs. And now I'm going to go ahead and bet 50. I still am feeling good about where I'm at, and I think almost regardless of what comes down on the river, we're going to be able to make 1 more bet with our ace. And I'm probably going to be betting small, or at least that is my plan going into the river. He calls pretty quickly from the small blind, and now the river comes down a jack. Even though our hand is improved, the jack doesn't really change anything as far as our strategy. We're going to stay on the smaller side, and we're going to go ahead and bet $135 targeting that worse ace. I'm hoping that they might think that they are in a position to chop now that there's 2 pair on the board and a decent kicker, and hopefully they will throw in the chips with the plan that the jack might be good. He snap calls and shows us deuce 4 offsuit for $20 pre-flop out of the small blind. Makes no sense at all to me, but it's what he had. And just like that, our dream is quickly becoming a nightmare. All right, everybody, we are in just over 3 hours, about 3 hours, 15, 20 minutes. And we have won 3 hands. So we're winning almost a hand per hour. We're stuck $600 and we got lunch. Anyway, heading back in, see if we can right the ship and make some money. Well, we don't right the ship. We have some pretty serious run bad for quite a while. We play for about an hour and a half where we're calling or we're making a raise and we're not making a hand, or we're set mining, we're missing, or whatever we do. We're getting dealt a lot of playable cards, but we just cannot make anything. And we end up down $350 over about the next hour and a half. So now we're stuck $950. The session is going absolutely horribly, and we get to this hand where we have pocket threes. I'm going to break this one down in a future video. It warrants more discussion and more analysis, but I don't have time to smash that all in now. So let's go through this one really quick. I get dealt pocket threes, I'm in the cutoff. An original razor is under the gun and makes it $10. Now a very capable opponent makes it $30. The player who is under the gun has not been getting too frisky, and so I'm not super concerned about getting 4-bet if I come in and call and attempt to set line. So that's what I do. He's got me covered. I've got about 550 in my stack. I make the call. The original razor also makes the call, and we go 3 ways to a flop, which comes down deuce, deuce, deuce. So we've made a full house, but it is the worst full house possible. My opponent leads for $30 when it's checked to him, and I expect him to be doing this with overcards as well as better pairs than ours. But I can't just go away for a single bet, so I call the $30, and we go to the turn, which is a 4. Now again, this card doesn't really hit him, so either he's already has us crushed or he hasn't improved. He makes a bet of $80. This opponent's really good. He's good at making you feel indifference and knowing that you could fold or call. I decide once again, because this doesn't improve all of his bluffs, that I'm going to go ahead and make the call. We go to the river. He bets $225 on a jack. And now I go deep into the tank. I don't actually know what the frequencies are off the top of my head, but sitting in that moment, I figure somewhere between 25% of the time and 50% of the time, I need to be making a call with pocket threes to not be exploitable in this spot. I spend some time thinking, I go deep into the tank, and I'm preparing to randomize and just choose. And then I decide, you know, I'm going to give it some time and attempt to look for some body language before I randomize. And as I'm doing this, I feel like I picked up on something. This opponent's too good to say what that is, and I'm going to be playing future hands with him. So I'm not going to tell you exactly what I saw or what I felt I saw in that moment, but I felt like it was enough to warrant tilting it in the direction of a call. I make the call, and he immediately mucks. It feels great to be scooping this pot, but this could have been the end of our night if it had not gone well. So I'm glad it went well, glad it went in our direction, and we finally have some momentum to continue moving forward in the night. The next sequence is madness, and in order to bring it to you, I want to give you a behind the scenes and kind of a look at what I do at the table in order to bring hands to you on YouTube. So, step number 1. Drag the pot. Step number 2. Stop recording. Step number 3. Stack the chips. Step number 4. Take notes. And finally, resume play. Now that you have all the exclusive insight as to how these things are made, let's talk about the hands that took place. All right, to begin the madness, for the second time of the night, we have pocket kings. Feeling pretty good to have those again, and we go ahead and raise. We end up going multi-way to the flop. We get involved with the player who had deuce 4 from the previous hand. We make a set. We bet big on the river. He doesn't call, but we were able to get value on the previous 2 streets, and so we're scooping some chips. I'm attempting to get everything done. I turn the camera off. I'm getting set up for the next one, but before I can put any notes in the phone or really get anything accomplished, I've got kings again. So I slam the camera back into the setup, and I'm getting myself going and restart filming. All right, so I make it $25 pre-flop. We go 4 ways to a flop with $100 in the pot, and we see king, jack, 8. We have made a set of kings in back-to-back hands. It does not feel real. This is where we're really starting to feel like, okay, are we dreaming? What is happening here? So our opponents can have maybe a bad 2 pair. They can have straight draws, flush draws, all kinds of things they can continue with. So I go ahead and bet $65 looking to get some value, and I get 1 caller. We go to the turn, and the turn is the king of clubs. Everything is coming together. I just can't believe how we're running. We've now made quad kings after just making a set of kings, and the flush draws come in. So if he had a flush draw, we're potentially getting paid in a huge pot. So I go ahead and bet $80 on this. I'm gonna size down a little bit, hoping that if to keep any number of hands in there. I also, though I'm hoping he has a flush, I'm willing to say that he may have something like a jack that he would get away with if I went really big. So I go ahead and bet targeting both of those hands with a plan to go really big on the river, regardless of what it is. He thinks about it for a little bit and makes the call for the $80, and we're going to the river. The river comes down, the queen of clubs. So now all he needs is a single club in his hand. I feel really good about this. I think I can get some value. I end up betting the pot on the river, hoping that he'll call. Unfortunately, does decide to fold. We do table our hand. We get a small bonus for making quads, and we're pretty excited about that. Wish that he had had some kind of a club that he could have called with. That would have been excellent. Get even more money out of this hand, but we have no complaints. Obviously, we're very happy to be scooping this one. So then I pick up the camera. I'm starting to put in my notes. Now I certainly can take a hand off. And then we look down at pocket kings again. This is unbelievable. 3 times back to back to back. We have pocket kings for the 4th time in the night. This hand is not a super exciting one. I bet pre-flop. I get a few callers. We end up going to the flop and I continuation bet rather large. Nobody wants to call, and I end up taking this pot down right away, but I just had to include it. It was crazy. This has never happened to me before in my life. I doubt it will ever happen again. Thought I would share it with you guys. It was a really, really cool experience. Anyway, we end up scooping a pot. Really exciting. We win 3 hands in a row with pocket kings after making a set, quads, and then an overpair to the board. This was definitely the highlight of the night, but it's not all that happened tonight. We still got a few more hands before we're out of here. At this point, I'm beginning to believe that I may have acquired some kind of a superpower when it comes to poker. I don't know if I stepped in some toxic waste or what I did, but all of a sudden I'm just unable to get anything but premium hands. It's only been a few hands since I was playing kings, and now I have red aces. It goes an open to 15 from middle position, a hijack call, and I raise to 60 in the cutoff. We get 1 caller, and we go to a flop, which is king 10 7. Great flop for us. I'm going to size down and see what kind of value I can get. So I bet $50. I'm hoping to keep in any 10s. We have our value target in the king. We'll see what happens here. I bet, and the opponent is not having it. They're going to fold right away. But hey, we made aces, and they held. It's possible I'm becoming a snob. I'm about to leave the table, but I decide to play one more hand. And of course, the dealer knows that I have fine taste now. Like a fine wine, I request the pocket kings one more time, and we get them for the 5th time in the night. I raised to $20 over some limpers, and we end up going to a flop with 2 opponents. I continuation bet, and I didn't even record this hand because it wasn't necessarily an exciting one. But just to show you how this day went, we get kings for the 5th time. They hold once again as we end up just taking it down with a continuation bet on the flop. If you liked this session as much as I liked it, click that like and subscribe button. And we'll go to some thoughts here for the close right after. This is what I was thinking right after I played that session. Hey guys, that was an incredibly fun session. Started at 11, out at 5 o'clock, and into that game, at one point I was stuck 950, finished the day up 325. Woo, crazy. So at one point I had bought in for $1,400 and had $450 left in the stack, and built it back up, cashed out $1,725. So, whoo, man, and the back to back to back on the kings, man, that was insane. So fun. It just doesn't it doesn't even feel real when you just look down at kings. You're like, wait, hold on, what again? The second time was crazy, but the third time and hitting quads, oh, what a session. Super cool. Tons of fun, and yeah, as far as the day has gone, it's getting pretty addicting, doing this poker thing. It's really fun. Got to wake up, let my wife sleep in, made some breakfast for the kids, hung out and had breakfast with the family, and then off to the casino, played for a little bit, and now 5 o'clock we've got some rec volleyball, Heidi and I do, at 6, so I'm on my way there to play that, and super cool. I'm having way too much fun doing this. It's like a gateway drug. Anyway, all right guys, hope you're well. Day 3 is wrapping up, and I will see you
for day 4.